No matter how confident I am walking into a shoot, I'm wrong about something. The Scout is where I get to find out what that is. And this Scout did not disappoint. Hop in the car, let's go. I'm on my way to scout a location, actually 2 locations, for a feature film I'm gonna be directing.
It's the end of the line.
We're basically filming a little bit of the trailer, but we'll also be able to use these interviews and this footage for the eventual feature film because we're still in the development stages. But I'm working with my buddy Roland Waddell, who's the executive producer, and Mike Wickline, who's a longtime Maryland director and producer of documentaries. But I'm tired, I didn't sleep well, and you know what that means. I'm gonna junk down some macadamia, upper macadamias. These nugs. Some McCrispy strips. Hello, I would like number 5, and I also want a nuggets.
How many nuggets?
10-piece nuggets. All right, thank you. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. We're actually cooking with trans fats. Let's see what we get. And what we get immediately is our first problem. This room is not going to work, but this is exactly why we scout. Quick background, this is for a Civil War documentary, so the interviews need to feel historic, like they belong in that world. And yeah, if you want to check it out or throw $10 in our crowdfunding campaign, links below. Huge appreciate. Originally, we were supposed to film at a library in a Baltimore museum where the actual battle flag is kept, but scheduling fell apart, so we needed a last-minute backdrop, which is production, so you pivot. Luckily, our EP, Roland Waddell, had a connection at this incredible place, Oatlands Plantation, and the people here were super accommodating. The only issue is that in my head, we were filming in the mansion in a room more like this. Instead, we're in the carriage house in a room like this. Okay, not too bad, except it's basically a converted horse stable. So the small, high windows, flat background, and a pretty nasty echo. For the interviews, I'm looking for a room that is big enough to give me some depth. I'm looking for a nice looking background that isn't too busy. I'm looking for how much natural light there is and kind of where the sun will be at the moment in time in which we're shooting these interviews, which tomorrow morning is going to be at 9:30 a.m. So we spent a couple hours walking the building, checking out other rooms, even going outside. This is beautiful. I wish it was a little bigger. Yeah. We found some cool options. This building looks amazing, but there's no AC and it's literally a greenhouse. Yeah, nobody needs heat stroke. It's like basically Miami. We eventually landed on this room on the other side of the carriage house. It had depth, a layered background, and we could at least work with the windows. Still tight, needed some set dressing, but honestly, what my DP, Jonathan Mount, pulled off in here is pretty glorious. I'll do a separate lighting video on this. The one limitation, we could really only shoot from one direction because of the windows and the background, and no real time to switch over the set and test out a different look. So with the 2 interviews, I made the call to shoot both from the same side and just break them up in the edits so they wouldn't feel repetitive, which is exactly what I did. I should point out that had we not scouted, we would not have had the time to look at different options and would have had to settle for something less than desirable. When I go onto a scout, I only really bring 2 things. I bring my iPhone for notes. So I take notes, anything that comes up. Usually the scout is a great time to brainstorm with your crew. Just come up with blocking ideas, lighting ideas, all kinds of things come up on scouts. It's actually one of my favorite things to do. And then for photos, what I like to do is I bring a fixed lens point and shoot. This is the Fujifilm X100V. And I love it because it's fixed at 35 millimeters, which is great. It only gives you one option. So you have to move the camera out and you gotta put your eye in the viewfinder, which makes it so much better because you have to commit to the angle and you really have to see those angles in order to know what you have. It's a great street camera, so I do a lot of street photography with it, and it's perfect for scouting. I'll link to the camera below if you want to check it out. Also, I'll look at things like, parking, right? Bathrooms, the nearest place to get lunch for the crew, just like practical things that you'll need to know for the day of shooting, which in my case is actually tomorrow. The film centers around the Battle of Newmarket Heights, where black soldiers showed extraordinary bravery and sacrifice, yet were largely forgotten by history. One of those soldiers is buried in a nearby cemetery. We'll interview wounded warrior retired Colonel Gregory Gadsden earlier in the day, then bring him to the cemetery to capture footage of him paying respects. So on the Scout, I'm looking for where the sun will be in the late afternoon, because that determines which direction we shoot from. You want your subject between your camera and the sun. I'm also mapping Mr. Gadsden's path from the car to the gravesite so I can plan intentional cinematic coverage. You know, you get so many story ideas too when you're just there that you can't get otherwise. Like, for example, we wanted to film at the cemetery because it had United States colored troops that were buried there, the USCT as they're called. And I was in my head picturing something very pastoral and big open fields and big trees, a beautiful cemetery. And what we have instead is something that's almost like it's a nice little cemetery, but it's not the best that the government could have done for these troops that put so much on the line. It looks like a cemetery that would be in the back of a church or something, which isn't a bad thing. It's just not exactly Arlington Cemetery. Because of that, I now know I want to prompt our guys on camera to ask them about that. You know, talk a little bit about what the cemetery looks like and what they think about it. With the water tank there and a busy road and, you know, not even a nice entranceway, just basically a chain link fence. I want to point out how many things I pictured in my head that were not actually the case. This is again why a Scout can be so crucial. So just to recap, I mean, bring like something with a fixed lens, like a point and shoot with a 35 mil or 24 mil or something like that, because it's going to force that fixed perspective, and you're going to have to move with your feet to find those angles. And it'll also get rid of some of that analysis paralysis. Make sure you check out where all your outlets are, figure out the general location where you're going to do your blocking, have your interviews. And then the next day, it's all so much easier. We'll see how this shoot goes tomorrow. I'm documenting this entire feature film process in real time, so if that's interesting to you, subscribe and follow along. And remember, avoid trans fats. 10-piece nuggets.
Center knives and a sauce.
That's it.